Uh, it's been really exciting looking at X early this morning. See what's been happening in the last, well, 12, 18 hours or something. So there's been amazing revelations that the BBC has apologised to Mark MacDonald and has corrected its Panorama documentary, because that 40% figure of extubations when Lucy Letby was working in Liverpool, was a trainee in Liverpool in 2015, that 40% was not 40% of a lot of babies she was caring for herself, 40% of shifts, but it was 4 out of 11. It was 4 out of 11. Okay, so there was 11 times she was caring for a baby, and during that shift, during that 12 hours, I suppose, on 4 occasions there was an extubation. Well, I immediately pulled out R, so here's a little R session. I had to download a package called EpiTools, which does standard confidence intervals for binomial probabilities for epidemiologists. Right, this is elementary stuff. This is really first year statistics, applied statistics. And what I did is I told what do you call it? Program called Binome Exact. I told it that I'd tossed a coin 11 times, I'd seen heads 4 times, and I'd like to see a 99% confidence interval for the true probability of heads. So the coin it could be a biased coin, right? It's not known to be an unbiased coin. It could have any probability of heads whatsoever. And I want to say something about the probability of heads. Well, I can tell you I'm 99% certain that the probability of heads of that coin lies between, here it is, these are probabilities, convert them to percentages, around 7% and 77%. Basically, I know almost nothing. I mean, there is a probability of extubation which is definitely bigger than 0, and it could be as low as 7%. Maybe it's about 1% or 2% or 5%, or it could be as high as 70%. Now, there are lots of things we know about extubation rates, and one of the things we know, for instance, is that they depend very, very much on all kinds of characteristics of the baby being extubated. And so the whole thing here is that without any information about the 11 babies, the states of those 11 babies, this tells us next to nothing. One thing I came across recently going through lots and lots of peer-reviewed literature. Okay, so you can find out that a 1% per day extubation rate seems to be sort of the normal thing overall. But you can also find out that when a baby is intubated, in 50% of the time, half the times, the tube comes out or has to be taken out, and another intubation has to be done. So if these were like fresh babies, which she had intubated herself, then the chance of a chance of an extubation is 50%. Right, nicely in my confidence interval from 7 to 77%. What do we see here? What do we see again is the fact that police, CPS, and seasoned journalists don't know a thing about statistics and don't realize that the first thing you have to do when you are told numbers like this is to go back to the source, find all kinds of extra information, and go to a professional statistician. I mean, a long time ago, I wrote to Cheshire Constabulary offering my services free to help them look at this 40% number which they were talking about. Never got a reply. They never replied to me. I've offered my services a number of times. They don't want to talk to me. I wanted to talk to Jonathan Coffey about this, but he blocked my emails. I'm sorry for him. I'm sorry for him and Judith that they let themselves be screwed so easily. And the thing that really pisses me off the most is, of course, that these numbers were gathered by Dr Bill Yoxall, who's at Liverpool Women's Hospital, who's, I'm sure he's a very decent fellow and a very good paediatrician or neonatologist or whatever, but he happens to be a close friend of Stephen Brearey, and Liverpool Women's mothers were being allowed to have their babies at Countess of Chester on his watch. And he's helped Brearey gathering on a very, as you can see from emails which have surfaced in the Thirlwell inquiry, looking at the surprising death rate, the peak. And so one thing which I can say is you mustn't trust any data which comes out of his hand. I mean, you can, but first you need to get hold of all the relevant further basic information about, for instance, those 11 babies. And it's such a shame that top BBC reporters, Moritz and Coffey, let themselves be allow themselves to be the tools of such amateuristic idiots. Okay. It's good that this has come out. It's very good that this has come out. Things are moving, and now I'm going to stop by pressing this